The growing calls across the nation to defund the police.
To end policing as we know it.
Off the charts violence in New York City. 11 people shot in just 8 hours on Sunday.
This is about the police officers who every single day put on that uniform and they run towards danger when we run.
Thumbs up, ja.
Giddy up. Oh my gosh. Welcome to all the gays to the Failure to Stop podcast. It is Pride Month, everybody.
So, yes! You know what? I said that, like, I don't necessarily, I wish that Pride Month was more like St. Patrick's Day, where we just went all out one day. Just like St. Patrick's Day. You go out, you get hammered, everybody's Irish. If we had Gay Pride Day, we all be gay all in one day. We all just go full gay for the whole day, and then it's over. I don't need a whole month. It was like if St. Patrick's Day month was a thing, I would just be a raging alcoholic for a month. It would be unhealthy. I still think if I went full gay for a month, it wouldn't be healthy. So I just want it for one day. I want a Gay Pride Day.
You want a happy gay day.
I just want one day.
Happy gay day. You see the flags going on? They're like, I don't know. They could give you epileptic seizures, I think. These new Pride Month
they're getting intense. They're getting
because
intense.
You have to include 87 things.
But you know what? I'll do
it's
it for
not
one
enough
day.
to just be gay now. You got to be all sorts of things. It's like a whole soup flag. I don't know what's going on.
I know you're gay, but are you pro-Ukraine gay or?
I don't know what to be anymore. I don't know how to do this.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Oh, you're one of those pro-Ukraine gays. All right. Okay. You know, it's like I'm all inclusive, man. I'm everything.
It's a race to the inclusive finish line. I don't even know what. Yeah. See, wah, wah. See, you see that thing, man? You're gonna go right into a seizure.
Dude, we should have put celebrate. What's that song? Celebrate good times. Come on. That should have been our intro today.
Well,
I'm feeling gay today, dude. Look, I'm dropping a strawberry shortcake hard AF, celebrating. Today's my Gay Pride Day, baby. Today I'm going all in.
You do you, boo.
Was it strawberry shortcake your nickname in the Army?
Strawberry shortcake was my nickname for a very long time.
That is an interesting story. We'll have to break that down one day.
Not a true story.
All right. This is the Failure to Stop podcast. We are the #1 show where law enforcement meets culture. And you are listening to the flagship show where it all started on our Friday live stream on YouTube. And we also obviously put the audio anywhere you can listen to audio, but we are live every Friday at 11 Eastern for this. On Fridays, we break down a case. It could be modern, like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing that we did. Congrats on his net $13 million that he's never going to see anyway because she will be bankrupt. But we broke that down last week. And sometimes we're going to go way back to a crazy bank heist in 1980. All right. This thing is like 1980 meets the Wild West in this Norco bank heist in California, 1980. Cannot wait to share this insane story with you all. Some of you may be vaguely familiar with it, whatever. Some of you, like me, maybe have never heard of this, and we're going to break it all down today. We have 4 other shows every week. Monday is Off the Cuff with law enforcement news. Tuesday is The Disruptors, having amazing conversations on relevant topics from cop experience. Tuesday nights, we go live for Night Shift on YouTube. The audio hits on Wednesdays. Those are usually our interview shows. Thursday's Last Call with Tansey and the overpaid producer, giving you all your pop culture news needs something. And sometimes we do special breaking news. Like yesterday, we did the Uvalde shooting. And
was it wild how that's blowing up right now?
It's crazy, man.
I think this is the first.
Busy.
This is the first experience I've had of something like blowing up, where we're just getting messages and messages. Brandon Tatum sharing it out.
That's crazy, man.
Pretty overwhelming, man. Thank you guys all so much for the messages and for helping us get through that yesterday. It's pretty overwhelming this morning, waking up to all the positivity that you guys are sending us. So thank you.
There you go. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. The Wolfpack is where it's at. If you want to support the show, you appreciate the work that we're putting in and the content we're putting out, and you want to support us, here's how. FailureToStop.com. You can get any merch you want, including we have 12 left. We said we were going to make 100 of our millionth download special whiskey glasses, and there were 12 left when I checked this morning. So if you want one, today is the last day. It cuts off at 3 p.m. So if you want to get it today. when you hear this, when you listen to this, whatever, go do it if you want to get it. Otherwise, it's done. That we're never
call
making
in now and
these
be
again.
one of the first 12, and you can get your beadless rim whiskey glass custom by Failure to Stop. Be one of the first 12, and we'll even throw in.
I just want to say, I was drinking whiskey the other day, and I thought about Eric talking about the bead, and I was like, I grabbed a glass and it had a bead on it. I'm like, nope, not using that glass. And when I get my Failure to Stop glass, I won't have to worry about that.
That's right. You won't have to worry about it.
I was thinking about you the other day, but I was doing something else.
Oh, gross. All right. It is Pride Month.
Mowing the yard, Mike. I was mowing the yard.
Yeah. He does like to mow his lawn. All right. If you can go there and grab merch, you can become a member on the YouTube channel. That gives you perks in the Discord and extra exclusive live streams. And you can support our sponsors like GhostBed. They're the sponsor of today's show, and we'll maybe talk about them later or whatever. But we always thank GhostBed. So we thank the Wolfpack for all of your. Oh, you know what else you can do? You can subscribe. If you like the show on YouTube, subscribe there. But if you listen on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, the two main places, or wherever you listen to, add the show like an automatic download, right? Don't just go to the show every week and listen occasionally. Subscribe to it so that it auto downloads, and that'll be huge. You can rate and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We need some new fresh reviews, guys. So come on. That's how you can support the show. All right, let's speaking of reviews, let's give credit where credit is due to the Wolfpack taking the time to leave the reviews. Reviewed and Screwed says 5 stars, soft and warm. I love hearing Dave's soothing voice of reason. It's like being held in his big soft hands. Mike is good too, and the only thing softer and more comforting than Dave's hands is that ghost bed where Mike burrows down at night with his little crash helmet curled into a fetal position while Cry singing Mary Poppins song till he goes to sleep. What reference is that? Mary Poppins?
Mary Poppins. That's what's her name? What's the pop culture lady? Mary Poppins.
The pop culture lady.
Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey's Mary Poppins. It's Eminem.
She is?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know anything about this.
Mary Poppins.
What's the helmet, dude? Am I supposed to be retarded or something? The crash helmet? Why do we need a helmet in my bed? Things are getting wild in there. Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's my condom invention, Headstrong condoms, where it's just the condom that goes over your head. So it doesn't prevent STDs, it just prevents pregnancies. But
kinda, maybe.
Where's your head at? That would be my slogan. Or
it's like the Seinfeld episode with just the muffin tops. Top of the muffin to you.
Yeah.
Like you don't need the whole condom. You just need the top. The tip. Just the tip.
Eric,
I promise, just the tip.
You went way deep in time for that Mary Poppins Mariah Carey reference. I pulled up, and the first thing that comes up is from 2008.
Yeah. It was back when she was with Eminem.
She said she's known as Ditzy Diva, but Mariah Carey says she considers herself more of a freaking prude. I'm a dichotomy, I understand. I'm Mary freaking Poppins.
Yeah. Mary fucking Poppins, dude. She took a bath in champagne right after that and burned her little gooch. It's a true story. Do not take a bath in nothing but champagne. If you're having mimosas, keep it in the glass.
Those are words to live by. You heard it here. All right, what's the other review? Tansey, you want to read this one?
Oh my god,
it's long.
Like Viking. Oh, I can't even read that many words. Are hard. Wolfpack is life. Oh, I did read that. You guys might not know this, but I consider myself a bit a loner. Oh god. Oh no. I've heard a lot about loners lately. I tend to think of myself as a one-man Wolfpack. Oh, here we go. But when Mike and Cop and his shiny bald head introduced me to the show and Tansey, the rip-packed breath skate daddy, I knew they were some of my own. And my Wolfpack, it grew by 2. There were 3 of us in the Wolfpack, where I was alone first and in the pack, and then MTC and Master Tansey joined in later. Then a few months ago, when the listeners started making cool reviews, I thought to myself, wait a second, could it be? And now I know for sure I just added thousands of new guys and gals to my Wolfpack. All of us wolves running around the world together looking for strippers and cocaine. So tonight I'm going to divorce my wife so I can buy a brand new ghost bed using the promo code Drinking Bros so I can stay cool and stay hard at the same time. She can keep our old ghost bed because she'll likely take 1.5 of everything too. But that's okay because I've got my Wolfpack now. even if she ends up poisoning me before then, I've got a plan for Policy Genius that'll make the wolf pack happy. 30 cents for everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to the #1 podcast for true crime in the universe. Hashtag Gugu. Hashtag can't stop, won't stop. Hashtag FTS.
That is pretty dang good right there. Congrats, sir.
Book, man.
Wow. That was something. We appreciate.
By the way,
that.
also thank you for the Bar is Open with Beth and Greg. I met them live at the Austin show. They've been Drinking Bro fans for a long time, have their own little podcast. I've tuned in a few times, love it, and I really like the shirt. It's really soft, real soft.
Very soft. All right, cool. Do we have anything else we need, or is that all the housekeeping?
I think that's it.
All right.
Go leave more reviews.
Go leave some reviews.
Let's get this party started.
Why not? All right. Strawberry shortcake and Mike the Cop bringing true crime right to you. All right. Let's see. When you think of bank robberies, what comes to mind? And you can feel free to sound off in the chat too. I mean, like, what when you think of amazing bank robberies, what's the first thing that pops out? I know for me, I know what I thought when I thought what bank robberies that are famous come to my mind. What about you, Tansey?
What's the one that happened in Point Break?
I don't know where they all had the funny masks on.
Yeah, they were the presidents.
Yeah.
That was a true story, though, right?
I don't know.
I think it was based on a true story.
I have no
idea. The
idea.
whole movie was pretty accurate.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was the North Hollywood shootout.
Rampage.
90s. You remember that? Did you?
Yeah.
Like, I remember like seeing live footage from the helicopters overhead with like, they had the guys in the body armor. They were walking around there. They had armor piercing rounds. That was like a big game changer for policing there, with rifle rounds and the type of body armor and cops needing to have heavy vests and different stuff like that. So that's what I thought about. Have you ever responded to a bank robbery and actually caught somebody?
The day I got fired.
Really?
Yeah. So in Raleigh, because bank robbers were kind of a problem, anytime there was a bank alarm, everybody in the city had to go until you were told not to go. And on this day, it was over by the college campus, and I was over in Southeast Raleigh. And so I drove all the way to the bank robbery, knowing I wasn't going to be there in time for if there was a real bank robbery. Wasn't gonna get there. But I was like, 2 weeks prior, I had caught a dude from a bank robbery where I was coming to the bank robbery. And as I was approaching, somebody said, "Tansey, that's him right there. You just passed him." And I did a U-turn. The guy took off running. We jumped a fence. He reached for something. And so I tased him and he fell and I got him. So I was like, dude, am I going to go 2 for 2 on bank robberies? So I'm showing up. And as I'm approaching, I'm lost. I can't find the fucking bank. So I'm going through like a back neighborhood trying to find this bank. And I'm kind of over by this, like, I don't know if it's a Catholic school. It's some kind of private school. It looks like Hogwarts, actually. And this kid pokes his head out of the woods and then pokes his head back into the woods. And I was like, oh, what do we have here? So I stop. The kid takes off running. So I chase him. We go through the courtyard of this school, like of Hogwarts. We go over into this apartment complex and I fucking tackle him. He's looking back, but he's slowing down. I was like, you better stop. You better stop. And then I just put all my weight on him. And the kid was probably like 15 or 16. So when I tackled him and all my weight, I just felt like all of his oxygen leave his body. And I was like,
spirit left his body.
So I'm sitting on top of him. My phone is ringing in my pocket, just vibrating. Brr, 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 brr. And because I got on the radio and I said, hey, I'm chasing this guy. I'm over near that school. It looks like Hogwarts. Knew I was going to hear shit about that. And I was like, right into an apartment.
What school? Hogwarts.
I said,
I'm in the yard at Hogwarts.
That school looks like Hogwarts.
I'm in the game.
So my phone's blowing up, and I'm guessing it's like one of my supervisors or one of my buddies.
Is it Tansey?
They're like, Hogwarts? Really, Tansey? But it was the city. And they were like, hello, is this Officer Tansey? I said, it is. And they were like, can you come up here really quick?
Are you laying on top of this guy still?
Yeah, I'm sitting on top of him, shouting. I have no idea where I'm at. And so I'm just sitting on him thinking I've got this bank robber. I was like, actually, I don't know if you guys heard or not, but there was a bank robbery and I'm actually sitting on the suspect. And they were like, what? And I was like, just tackled him. Thought you were my supervisor. And they're like, oh no. Okay. Just call us when you're done there. I was like, cool, thank you. Now in my brain, I'm like, why is the city manager calling me? Like, that's fucking weird. Now I'm still trying to figure out where we're at. So I'm trying to ask the kid, I'm like, hey, dude, where are we at right now? And he was like, we're at such and such school. And I was like, okay. So now I'm like getting on the radio. I'm like, hey, Riley, I'm in this courtyard of this apartment complex. It's adjacent to this school, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, everybody shows up. I go into the city manager's mom and I'm covered in mud. By the way, the kid was not involved. There was no bank robbery. It was a bank alarm that somebody Wachovia had set off accidentally and had fixed it. But this kid had just slapped his mother.
Wow.
And he thought his mom called the police on him for slapping her. And he saw me and ran. And I was like, you slapped your mother? And he was like, oh, it's the first time. I've never hit my mom before. But and I was like, so then I had to get some officers to take him back to his mom. And then I went to the city manager's office, like covered in mud. And then that's when they told me that they were going to fire me for opening up a distillery. So,
nice.
And then I said, I'm officer of the year, right? Right. And they were like, what? And I was like, I'm officer of the year. And they're like, that doesn't matter. They're still fired.
Do you think that matters to us? Bring us that certificate. We're going to shred it right now.
I'm like, do you know who I am? They're like, do you know who I am? Touche.
Fair enough. I'll show myself out.
Okay. Do you want this gun now? They're like, no, we don't know what to do with that. We'll hold on that for right now. We'll be taking it shortly.
Oh my gosh. Well, this I caught a bank robber. I wish I searched literally high and dry in my old Google Drive. I couldn't find it because back when like Snapchat was something that was really something I did all the time back in like 2015, 2016. And I was actually putting content there. And I caught a bank robber one time. I mean, he was a complete idiot. He wasn't actually armed or anything. And I caught him coming out of the bank and like, I get the description. So I pull into the parking lot, drop my vest on, grab my rifle, charge it. I'm moving behind the bank. I got another car like that came up and I told him like stand behind like this dumpster. And then we would kind of come in because supposedly he was still there. So as they're putting out the description, we come around the corner and here's the guy, right? Like I'm listening to the description and I'm looking at it. I'm like, gun in his face, the whole 9 yards. I hook him up, go in, get the whole story, blah, blah, blah. And we're driving back to the PD and he's in the back just going like sobbing. And so I get my phone out. So I'm driving like this and I get my phone out and I'm on Snapchat and I'm just like hit record and I'm just like, and I captioned it like with the bank robber, like can't handle what he did or something. I don't know what I titled, but I know that the video has to be saved somewhere, but he's like literally just, he had the balls to rob a bank and then he's in the back of the cop car just upset that he's going to jail.
We had one at a Bojangles where the guy tried to rob the Bojangles and I wish I would have been able to keep the evidence, but he wrote on a napkin, give me all your money and a couple biscuits. And so after we hooked him up, and I was driving him back to the PD. He goes, all they gave me was biscuits. They didn't even give me the money.
That's a t-shirt. I robbed a Bojangles and all I got was these biscuits. Oh my gosh. John Stamos is in the chat, by the way. He said, have mercy. What did I just stumble on? I love it. Thank you, John Stamos, for watching the show. Tell your friends, and we're sorry about Bob Saget. All right. Sorry. Too soon? All right. So the reason I chose to tell you guys this story today about this crazy bank heist in Norco, if you look up Norco 80, there's a book about it. There is actually a podcast series.
Norco 80 sounds like a prescription pill.
It does, doesn't it?
Norco
like
80 will help your burning urinary tract infection.
Exactly. And there was a podcast series on this. We're not going to go through a series. We're doing one episode today. Grab a drink, settle in, and we'll be here. I have to leave at like 1:15, so it won't be any more than 2 hours from now. But we're gonna do the story justice and go through it. But the reason I wanted to tell you guys this was because when I thought of bank robbery, I saw a blip on this on the internet the other day. And I was like, I've never heard of the Norco Shootout. I've never heard of the bank robbery. And supposedly they're still using documentary footage and information from this to train cops in academies. So I'm like, oh, okay. And apparently bank robberies, I'd never heard of this shootout. So I'm like, wow, this is interesting to me from a police perspective. And I got into it, and I was like, man, I got to tell this story to everybody on the show. That's where this came from. But it puts this Norco shootout puts like it makes North Hollywood like a trip to Chuck E. Cheese, which is also dangerous depending on what city it is. But it blows the North Hollywood shooting out of the water. All right.
Well, before you get started, my wife just texted. She screenshotted that Sarah wants to tackle me.
She's gonna go after Sarah now?
No. She texted me and she said Sarah wants to be tackled. She's like, I second that. Meaning my wife wants to be tackled by me, not.
Oh, she doesn't want to watch you tackle Sarah?
No, we don't kink shame. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I totally kink shame. I am not above kink shame.
I am not tackling Sarah because I'm not a pedophile.
John Stamos says maybe Bob can be the ghost bet of the month. Eventually, they'll have a full house of ghosts. Yes. John Stamos, the third host of the show. And if you guys are wondering, this is the real John Stamos. This is not just somebody with their name changed on YouTube to John Stamos. This is him. This is Uncle Jesse.
That's so fucking awesome. Oh, there's not enough hard as fuck seltzer in this building.
Oh man. All right.
This is a show about robbers, not John Stamos, Uncle Jesse.
So listen. I took a little dive into bank robbery stats in California between 1985 and 1995, so 10-year period in the LA metro area. There were 17,106 bank robberies in those 10 years, which is an average, not including leap year stats, of 4.68 bank robberies per day. So hearing a robbery in progress at a bank call was like standard, normal part of your everyday police life. If you were a cop in Southern California in the mid 80s to mid 90s.
Why was it so high?
Because they had this extensive interstate system that made it super, super easy to get away.
I gotcha.
It was so crowded and so large that they could just hop right on the expressway no matter where they were at and make a pretty clean getaway. So a lot of people were getting away with it. So it was just like, it was the freaking Wild West out there. Nuts.
That's crazy. It's like, what did you do today? Well, I had 2 domestics, 1 missing child, and 3 bank robberies.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that a crazy stat? It's nuts. So I want to dive into this. This story is going to reveal. I'm going to Tarantino it. You know I will. So 2 suspects will die. 1 deputy will be killed. 8 more cops will be wounded. 32 cop cars are going to be damaged or destroyed entirely. 1 jet helicopter will be shot down, and several civilians and their vehicles will be attacked and or damaged. So this is a bank robbery and a half. Settle in. It's going to start with a guy named George Wayne Smith. George Wayne Smith looks exactly like you would think he looks.
Hey now. hey. Oh, sorry. It looks like Andre 3000 to me.
Yeah, I agree. He does look like that. Let me tell you a little bit about George, right? He didn't start out looking like that. George started out like a normal human being. He was the captain of his championship tennis team. He was a good student, editor of the school paper. He was on the chess team, and he was even a member of the choir. So George Wayne Smith, for all practical purposes, is a really normal kid, minus the choir part, I guess, and chess. But other than that, yeah, I think Jacob Nickel, he says if they have 3 names, they're a psycho. Yeah. John Wayne Gacy. Yeah. George Wayne Smith. They add the middle name to make them sound as ominous as they were, you know?
Eric Edward Tansey.
Yes. So there you go. All right. So he's a pretty normal person, But he gets involved in a movement that a lot of people will probably be familiar with that really was born in Southern California and took on a lot of different shapes, but it was the Jesus movement. And I hate to bring Jesus down into the bank robbery story, but one of the emphases of the Jesus movement was this whole concept of a rapture being like right around the corner. There was a ton of like end time predictions. Hal Lindsey, and if you guys don't know any of these names, you're just gonna have to dig deeper in it for yourself. But like you've got like this, we're on the cusp of the apocalypse in the Jesus movement kind of a thing, where everyone was anticipating that they were about to be either raptured or entered into like this great tribulation. And so he really goes all in on this, and it didn't quite have a negative impact at first, because he still had a reputation from neighbors, friends, family that like, hey, George, he's the kind of guy, like if you need something, you need help, you call George because he'll, give you the shirt off his back. He was nice, normal guy. But eventually he takes this Jesus movement thing, end of the world thing, to like a different level. But a little bit more of his background. He joins the Army right out of high school, and he was an artilleryman. What does that mean, Tansey?
He joined the Army as an artilleryman?
That's what he was. It says he was trained in tactical battlefield nuclear weapons, and he was stationed in Germany.
Wait, and what?
It says he was trained in tactical battlefield nuclear weapons and stationed in Germany.
I don't know what tactical battlefield nuclear weapons is, but if he's a field artillery guy, here's a fun acronym. Field artillery guy. Normally field artillery guy.
It's Pride Month.
They shoot like the 40 mics, like they shoot like the 105s, like more. Field artillery guys can be mortarmen as well, but they can be heavy guns as well. Like those big big cannons and stuff.
Is that
what I'm talking about?
Term? Is that what you get on the radio? Like, we need some choo-choos over here.
It's some 105s, the howitzers,
Yeah. I don't know. So as he is kind of combining this idea that the world is going to come to an imminent end, he starts believing that it's going to be nuclear war, right? There's massive tensions in the 1970s between America and Russia. The idea of this building nuclear war, the end of the world kind of a thing. A lot of people thought it was coming, and combined this, pretty unique theology that he was bought in on. And he gets out of the Army, honorable discharge, ends up becoming a maintenance man for the city of Cypress in California. And I don't know why. I don't know if there's like a maintenance man hangout or something, but he meets this guy named Chris Harvin, who is a maintenance man for a neighboring city called Fountain Valley. So like I said, I don't know if like maintenance guys have a club that they hang out at and meet each other, and it's like a support thing. I don't know what they do, but they cross paths, they become friends. And Chris also had served in the Army, but for 1 month, which means he probably didn't even make it out of basic. And
wait, how long was he in?
1 month.
Oh yeah, that's longer than Hunter Biden served.
That's true. That's very true. Poor Hunter couldn't make it sober to his first meeting in the Navy. Poor guy. Such a victim of society. No, that's not the same guy. Imperial Girl is in the chat wondering. That's Chris Harvin. So
and they said that during the 80s that they had nukes that could be fired from howitzers. They were called the Davy Crockett rockets. Don't know if that's true. It's just coming from somebody in the chat. It sounds legit to me. Sounds like some dumb shit.
Let's go with it. It is now fact.
Here's the Davy Crockett rocket. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. So these two maintenance men become good friends, and they start George is a pretty influential personality, right? He has high expectations for himself. He's got this ideal that the world is going to end, and he's trying to make as much money as possible to go. He wants to go off grid. Eventually he starts to turn from like casual Jesus guy to more government anarchist and survivalist. Like he starts going down that more like niche direction of this ideology. And Chris sort of buys into this with him. They get a house together in Mira Loma, California. And what they decide to do is they both are struggling financially, and they decide that the answer to this is to build a 300 plant marijuana grow op in their backyard, and they dig this bunker as well. And their plan is, hey, if the cops ever come looking, we just run to the backyard, we lift up the fake door, and we go down to our bunker. And that's where we'll wait out the cops and whatever else. And their goal was to make enough money selling weed to be able to move on and buy property. They wanted to go to Utah. That's where they wanted to be. So they want to make enough money selling weed to buy property in Utah.
How much money does it take to just fucking go to Utah?
No, you got to understand. They had to have enough money to buy a place and to be fully self-sufficient because the nuclear war is coming. Okay. And if they have any hope of survival, they have to be fully self-sufficient, right? Okay. So George and Chris are like Thelma and Louise holding hands in their weed bunker. Like they're riding it out, right? That's the idea. So George hatches this plan to say, because their weed business wasn't going like they expected. Apparently they weren't great marketers because they were very, very slow on their progress making any money on weed. So George decides, you know what a fast way to make money would be to knock off a bank. And he planned on getting at least $200,000. He hoped for more, but he was planning on, surely I could get a couple $100,000 if we do this right. And that was the idea. They were going to rob this bank. They were going to get their getaway cars. They were going to leave. They were going to wait till the heat cooled. And then they were going to head to Utah and live their dream. All right. But they knew that they couldn't do it alone. So they have to start recruiting more people. So all of these people, all 5 of these suspects, just so that you guys know, because I know people are going to want to know, no criminal record to speak of other than minor drug charges. So weed, right? That's it. It's 19
surfers.
Yeah, it's 1980.
The presidents are surfers. What, Johnny? The presidents, they're surfers.
Surfers.
Look at this. Remember that movie?
I do remember that movie.
All right. It's a great movie. And I feel like
Keanu.
I feel like that's what you're trying to do right now is tell that story.
Well, you can be the judge. You can compare.
These guys look like surfers. Now they're recruiting 5. It's kind of like this end of the world thing, right? He's chasing the wave at the end of the world.
Yeah. It's very, very similar.
Maybe
this was the inspiration for the movie. I don't know.
Feeling it.
Could be. All right. So Christopher Harvin, I already told you about him. So George, by the way, he's only 27 years old at this time. So they're not really like old guys or anything. They're young still. George is 27. Chris Harvin, his roommate, is 28. They recruit Chris's little brother, Russ, who is age 26. And then they had come across these other guys, the Delgado brothers, Manny, who is age 21. And that's Belisario.
Is he
Sorry,
dead?
he's dead.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Manny's dead too. Sorry.
Shit.
That's the only photos online. Sorry, they're dead.
Wow.
So now you know who the 2 that die are, but you don't know how. I'll tell you later.
So, doesn't look like he's going to get ahead in life. That's for sure.
So Manny is 21 and Belisario is 17. He's the only juvenile of the group. So they're going to, and you'll see that they make him do all the shit work in this situation anyway. So these 5 guys, they're going to do their bank heist. George recruits them all, convinces them that his plan is fail proof, and they're going to get their cabin and live off grid, and they'll be ready for whether it's Jesus coming back or whether it's nuclear war, they'll be ready. All right. So here's the plan that they hatch, and they actually found the plans in the weed bunker. So they left the plans behind, but they know that they all would like meet up for beers and head to the weed bunker, and George would tell them the plan. Okay. This is what they plotted out. Mm-hmm. They were going to hit the Security Pacific Bank in Norco, California. They would read up and refresh on their military tactics, and George would basically convey these military tactics and help the planning with the other 4. They were going to use walkie-talkies to communicate. And if you haven't seen a walkie-talkie from the 1980s, we have that. This this is their walkie-talkies. This is what they were carrying around, like legitimately their comms plan
from the future, 1989.
Yeah, it's 1980 trying to make it look like what they envisioned a walkie-talkie being in 1990. That's what that is. They arm up 1,000 rounds of 5.56, 1,500 rounds of 2.23, 500 rounds of 3.08, all of which they would take and they would use every last bit of it. So there's a lot of firepower going into this. Then they're going to have a variety of types of weapons. We'll show you some pictures. I'm going to talk about the specific weapons as we go along. Maybe if
that looks like a BB gun.
Yeah,
those are airsoft. You got the Vietnam ARs.
They built hand grenades and incendiary devices. So this is actually pretty genius what they decided to do. Like, see, so what's on the screen right now, if you see it, and I'll describe it for the listeners, is they built these wooden dowels and shaped them to the size of the barrel of their shotguns, and they took the pellets out of the shotgun rounds and they loaded it, still kept the powder in there, and they loaded these dowels into the shotgun rounds, and they would build these incendiary devices. Some of them were just literally bottles filled with gasoline so that it would explode on impact. Other times they had other types of complex ways that they were building these little homemade, like it says, shotgun launched incendiary device. I mean, they weren't joking around in the weed bunker. They were literally labeling this shit.
I feel like if you're that
schematics.
Fucking smart, just take that knowledge to somewhere else and make a lot of money and not have to die at the end.
Well, they thought it was going to be easy,
Should have just started a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Then they could just ride off into the sunset with all their wealth. So yeah, they developed a lot of these incendiary devices with an inner core that was PVC with gunpowder, broken glass, cement nails, and bullet heads. And they would put it in a beer can and then wrap the beer can with masking tape, attach it to those dowels, and then they would be able to seat it in the shotgun. And it had about a 100-yard effective range. And they trained with these things. They went out to the forest in San Bernardino and they trained with their weapons and their incendiary devices.
Which is why we had the California fires.
It's their fault. Smokey the Bear was born shortly thereafter. So basically,
that is insanely genius. Like, I wonder what kind of books they were reading. Like, this is some real Rambo shit.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? It's crazy. I don't know what the inspiration was or where you learned, but I mean, you see these drawings, guys, and I'll you
didn't even have the internet. You didn't have the internet back then. You couldn't just fucking Google this stuff. You know what I mean?
There's a schematic of the plan that we're going to unfold.
Wow.
The Carl's Jr. will actually come into play here in a little bit. So yeah, look at all that. It's crazy. So this is the plan. They take two cars that are going to be the getaway cars, but they don't want to rob the bank in the cars. They want to park them nearby, heading north out of town. So they load down the cars with supplies for camping and some extra food, because their plan was to get from the bank to the forest and camp out for a few days until people, like, in case there was any people looking for them in the wake of the robbery, they would let that cool down. Then they would start their trek to Utah. And in order to make sure that the bank heist went off smooth as possible, they built this incendiary device and they scouted a building that was under construction nearby the bank, but further south, to hook it up to the gas main at the building under construction to set off a large explosion. And then all of the first responders would go to the building where the explosion happened. They do the bank heist while nobody's paying attention and scoot out of town. And by the time they decide to divert themselves from the big explosion, then they're gone.
Wow. Is this a movie?
It should be, shouldn't it?
This should be a movie, dude.
Apparently there was one made, but it's really, really bad. So
I
supposedly
want to be the guy with
there was a guy working on a script for this, but yeah, it should be a movie. So once the diversion happens, they'd get the robbery underway, and they were going to wear disguises so no one could see their face, right? And these disguises, they said, were parkas and ski masks. Now, when I heard this, I thought, I've seen this before somewhere, and it was the underpaid producer would have his friends over to play airsoft war in the woods near our house. And this is the closest approximation to what these guys look like on the day of the robbery. This is
God. Oh. It almost looks like a squad out of Ukraine.
There was a lot of resistance to me including this photo.
What woods were y'all playing in? It looks like y'all are in the middle of the suburbs.
We are, but we had where our old house was like, I don't know, what would you say, Lige? Like a quarter mile from woods? Not even that. Yeah, we had woods behind our neighborhood.
It was huge.
That looks like something out of like True Crime, where it's like 5 guys went missing from buttfuck nowhere, Michigan.
So even had a ghillie suit for the airsoft war.
So much fun.
Pretty awesome. All right, so these guys got it. They think they have it all figured out. Now they want these cars parked. So we're going to get into the incident itself now, right? So they decide, wait a second, we have the getaway cars over here, but we don't want to conduct the robbery with the getaway cars. We need a different car to do that. So I'm going to say a name here. This is a poor innocent civilian, Gary Harala. Poor Gary. He was pulling up to Sears at the mall in his 1979 Dodge Tradesman van when the Delgado brothers carjack him and tie poor Gary up and put him in the back of his own van. And this becomes the robbery vehicle, is this 1979 Dodge van. And
for those of you who are just listening, it looks like the van on what's the movie with Will Ferrell where they go back to college?
Old School.
Old School. It looks like the van in Old School.
So poor Gary, imagine going to Sears for your dryer part on May 9th, 1980. And all of a sudden you're in the back of your van like, what the hell, bro?
I'm just trying to get a clip for my dryer vent, guys. Come on. Yeah, right. Just trying to get kids into my creepy van and sell them some ice cream.
You're along for the ride, Gary. Thank you, Tyler Durden, for that comment. Appreciate it. So, yeah, May 9th, 1980, about 3:30 in the afternoon, the Delgado brothers. So you've got George, Chris, and Russ. They're responsible for staging the getaway cars in the north end of town with all the supplies that they're going to need. They've got their walkie-talkies to talk to the Delgado brothers. Like, I just imagine George leaving out one little detail on this plan. Like, hey, we need another vehicle. Go steal a car. And the Delgado brothers, being complete morons, they're the ones that died after all. They screw this whole thing up by bringing in a live hostage to the bank robbery. Like, you can't just find an empty vehicle to go rob a bank with, to just hotwire.
They get the vehicle, they get in there like, who the fuck is that? And why is he smoking our weed? And they're like,
Who
that's
are you?
Gary. Don't worry about it.
I'm
It's
Gary.
Cool.
What are you doing here,
cool.
Gary? It's my truck. It's my van. I live in it. All right, well, shut up. We're going to rob a bank.
Yeah. Holy shit.
So they communicate in the walkie-talkies. I just imagine George being like, you brought who? His name's Gary. He seems nice.
That's what happens when you send
anybody.
This is what happens when you send the Dildo brothers out to go rob a car. Fucking come back with a dude in it.
Like, what do you mean there's a guy in here? Yeah, it's off to a great start. So the Delgado brothers and Gary load on up and they run back by the getaway cars. They get all of the guns, the ammo. They load up 5 people deep. Well, 6 people if you count Gary into the heist van that they stole at Sears. And they roll by, they set the incendiary device, and they drive nearby waiting for the explosion, which turns out for some reason to be more of a poof. It does explode, but just not the big boom that they anticipated.
It's like when you tell your kids, you're like, hey, son, come over here and look at this hole in my pants. And they're like, what is it? I'm like, come here, look at this hole in my pants. I'm like, oh. And it's like, they're like, what are you doing, Dad? And you're like, nothing. Never mind.
All right. So it was noticeable enough that a passerby who happens to have a fire extinguisher in his car sees this little burning thing at the building, gets out, and it's a good Samaritan and puts out the fire. So no first responders come because no one knows about this explosion that barely happened. So
you had 2 jobs, Dildo brothers. Set the explosive and get us an escape vehicle.
So they did, of course, what any sensible, well-planned weed bunker group would do. They let Gary go. They apologize, and they say, let's regroup. No, they decide. George says, we're moving ahead with the plan, boys. We're doing it anyway.
We're dying on this hill, boys.
Gary be damned, explosion be damned. We're going. So they decide to roll up to the bank.
Do you think Gary, like to this day, is like sitting around somewhere smoking weed? He's like, "You'll never believe this, but one time, I was going to Sears."
That Gary, you'll never.
Like Gary's really high right now. He's saying some weird shit. Something about a bank robbery, some kind of heist.
Gary's cool, man. Don't worry about Gary, man.
It's Gary, dude. He's totally legit.
Who's that? That's Gary, dude. The reason the shootout happened, Panzer says, was because the robbers were protecting Gary. We can't let Gary die, man. He let us use his van. Oh, now this is what true crime is all about, isn't it, everybody?
Yeah, this is how you true crime.
This is how you true crime. You screw you basic white girls and your stupid music. All right, here we go. They get out in their parkas and their ski masks. They all head inside the bank. Manny Delgado has the short stock shotgun with an 8-shot extended tube. Russell covers another door with a short stock AR-15. George Smith, the ringleader, has his HK-91. Chris has an HK-93, and he heads to the manager, takes the manager, at gunpoint, says, "Get me to the vault and give me the money." And I'm curious how much you think that they were able to get. How much do you think? Now, the goal was 200,000. I just fucking gave it away. Shit. All right. $20,000. Damn it.
That's pretty.
Ruined my own buildup.
That's pretty shy of 200,000. So you got to set reasonable goals, man. Or you're not going to feel successful.
And grenades and time spent training.
They're in the hole here.
They're
in the financial hole. They haven't even paid back themselves for the schematic.
They could have sold the guns for 20 grand.
They're not coming out ahead yet. $20,000 is the cold hard cash. Imagine what Chris is thinking. I mean, they could be dumb enough to be like, so that's what 200,000 looks like. I don't know. I thought
it was going to look like a lot more. They open the vault and there's just this stack of money.
It's this big giant wheel. Click, 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 click. Boom. Opens up. And there's just 2 10 straps sitting in the middle. There's nothing else.
Or they go, vault. They're like, take me to the vault. And they go to one of those little mail, the little mail slots with the little key.
With the key.
They just open it up. It's just this tiny little mail slot. We got $20,000 in cash here. He's like, motherfuckers.
Damn it, Gary. All right. So they get their $20,000, obviously way short of the minimum 200, maybe. I mean, I'm sure in George's mind, he's thinking we might get a cool $500,000, Who knows? Who knows what we
we're shooting for 200 grand, but we could be walking out of here millionaires today, boys.
Belisario, he's waiting outside in the van with Gary. So, so far so good, other than the fact that they're low on funds now. But what they didn't account for is an old lady teller across the street at Redlands Federal Savings Bank wondering why 4 dudes with guns just went in the Pacific Bank across the street.
She's like, why are all those guys with guns going to that bank? They only have 20,000. We have 20 million in here. What a bunch of dum-dums.
Exactly. She's like, if they only knew how much we had in our vault. Wow. George would have doubled it. It would have been 2 million or something like that.
Yeah.
In $1980, which would be ungodly amount of money. That could buy you a year of gas now. So she calls the cops, right? Riverside County sheriffs. And she's like, I would like to report that there's a bank robbery. Oh, at your bank? No. The one across the street that I'm watching unfold right now. There's some guy waving at me in the back of this van. Looks like a Gary. The silent alarm gets activated inside the bank that they're robbing, but the silent alarm goes to the Corona Police Department, which is 5 miles away, and they go to the wrong bank. Okay, they go to one 5 miles away in Corona. So somehow the Pacific Bank here, they have their branches and their silent alarms jacked up. right? So there's some confusion on where they're supposed to be responding to. But the first unit that finally gets dispatched to the right spot, and you might hear some terms, 4th and Hemner. Those are the street names of where the bank is, okay? So the first unit to get dispatched, you're not going to believe how close he is. His name is Glenn Bulaski, and he gets this dispatch call. So listen in.
Riverside to Norco units have a 211 in progress at the Security Pacific Bank, 4th and Hamner. A 3-hour 5297.
Okay.
350.
So you hear that. He goes, we have a 211. It's a robbery in progress at the Security Pacific Bank at 4th and Hamner. Instantaneously, Bulaski chirps back up on the radio and says, acknowledge it, and says 1097, which is code there for arrived.
He's like, yeah, I just watched these dum-dums run in there.
So he was literally parked like just right around the corner. And he's like, okay, show me arrived. I'm pulling up.
I bet it was this thing is like, cause you know, when we had our like 2-year stint of like bank robberies, I don't know why we had that. It was a big deal when I first came on, but we always had cops. If you were typing a report, you were typing it adjacent to a bank.
Sure.
Because we wanted desperately to deter these bank robberies.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, you bring up a great point. Back then, like these bank robberies were heating up. Maybe they were just like, hey, we stay in the area of these things just in case.
He's like, hey, dude, like if you're not doing anything, sit near that bank.
So Bulaski starts to pull into the parking lot and he hears what sounds like breaking glass. And he realizes that his light bar has been shot out. So as Bulaski is pulling in the parking lot, George and his crew with 20 grand are heading back to Gary's van and see the cops pulling in, and they just decide to go full YOLO. I mean, this is it. They're like, well,
they're like, they got us. Meanwhile, this cop's pulling in. He's like, it's probably just another dumb bank alarm.
Probably another false alarm. And he's like, what's all this breaking glass? And he realizes he sees the blue and red plastic.
And like back then, you couldn't just go get another car. Like that, your car was like your car. So if you lost your car, you went on like foot patrol. So he was like, oh, not on my watch, motherfuckers.
So he's getting shot at. He turns into the driveway and he confronts them. He gets out and confronts these 4 armed people in the parking lot. And then this is what happens. So play the tape. Do you hear those pops?
Considering the description, it's a green van. It's 4th and Hamner. They are shooting. Officer hit. Clear the air. 1199.
So Deputy Bulaski backs up. He starts taking fire immediately. Heavy firepower. Mind you, the weapon issued to all those area departments was a 6-shot revolver.
Yeah.
It's 1980, folks. This is why I titled it 1980 Meets the Wild West. 1980 sounds like, modern in some sense, but they didn't have semi-automatic pistols in 1980 with both police departments. They had freaking revolvers, dude.
Jeez. Look at this CAD drawing.
So he pulls in. That's where he takes fire. And this is why you got to watch the show, guys, because you can see these drawings. So he takes fire. He's on the radio. I've been hit. And he hops in, and it's just like a movie scene, dude. He slaps it in reverse. Wheels are spinning, peels out, smokes another vehicle behind him, just trying to beat feet out of there and get some cover. And he runs into another car, and he comes back on the air, I think.
Shot. 4th and Hamner. Yeah, cop. 22 on route. 72 cop. 1 copy. 4th from March, am I right? You're not rolling animals. Ambulance responding.
Yeah, so now you start hearing all the other cars. We're on the way. We're coming from here. We're coming from here. And they're like, oh, so this really is happening. So he retreats back after he crashes into this car, and they did have shotguns. They don't have the cool Remington ones. They have Winchester shotguns. So they pop out this shotgun, and the getaway van is now trying to escape, and he passes by another deputy responding, and now this huge firefight takes place. And I had to throw this sound clip in here for the fans.
We're taking a fire now.
Not that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
There was a firefight.
I knew it. I was about to say the joke when you were
Yes.
like a firefight scene. I was about to go, there was a firefight. For those of you who have not seen that movie, turn our YouTube video off. You're done to me. Get out.
Yeah. You got to go.
If you haven't seen Boondock Saints, you don't even celebrate Gay Pride Month.
And poor Gary's like, oh, my van's never going to be the same. So this big firefight starts to take place. They're about 25 yards. Belaski's about 25 yards now from the van, and his unit is torn apart. Belaski shoots 4 times from his shotgun as the van is trying to drive away. So imagine the angle. He's kind of like waiting for the van to pass him. He's injured, by the way. He's been shot. And he waits for the right moment, pops off 4 rounds from his Winchester shotgun, and 1 pellet happens to go through the passenger side window or driver's side window and hit Belisario behind the ear. Doesn't immediately kill him, but it incapacitates him, paralyzes him from the neck down. So
he gets shot in the fucking ear.
Loses control of the van. He slumps over. Now the windshield blows out, and the van comes to like this undriven halt and crashes into a fence. Okay, so the van is now like basically disabled because the driver is completely disabled. So this firefight's taking place. George Smith is hit also by Belaski inside the van and is struck in the groin by one of the pellets. So what a strange, I don't know, like he was in the passenger seat, maybe George was, and these 4 shotgun blasts hit target twice at least. So they drift into this chain link fence across the street. The gunmen get out, and they don't just get out and run. They gather up all of their ammo. I don't know what they were holding in, like bags or something, but they like armed themselves to the teeth. They don't leave anything behind. They grab it all. The grenades, the incendiary devices, all the rounds that I said that they had, they load up. Deputy Andy Delgado arrives, parking his unit facing southbound in the northbound lane where they're trying to make their escape. Because remember, they parked their getaway car.
So Delgado is a police?
Yes. Deputy Delgado.
What's the Dildo brothers' names?
Manny, not related. Manny and Belisario, but they're not related to Andy Delgado.
Okay.
It's just Southern California. So Delgado's like Smith.
Okay.
All right. So he tries to block the lane of escape, and he's now 60 yards north of the suspects. He's got a shotgun in his hand, and he can see them through this chain link fence, getting their ammo while also continuing to fire at Belaski, who's hiding behind this disabled patrol unit for any semblance of cover. He fires 9 rounds at them. Belaski gets his .38 revolver out and fires off what 3 rounds he could fire off because he's injured. And he's struck 2 more times from rifle fire.
Yeah, those rifle rounds are ripping through that car like shooting a pellet gun through a Coke can.
Understand how far 25 yards is with a .38 revolver against high-powered rifles. Like this is not a fair fight. Let's just put it that way, right? So Andy Delgado, the deputy, fires 9 rounds. Belaski fires 3. Belaski struck twice. Now another deputy, Deputy Hill, arrives, and his unit is immediately hit. Let's see if we can play that tape.
We're taking a fire now. Church 59, 10-9. Being fired upon. Church 59, copy. Riverside to all units. Units at the location are being fired upon. Unit's been hit.
So what a chaotic scene. It's nuts.
I love the radio traffic, though. It's really good.
Yeah, so far so good. Like I've been impressed. There's one time where his tone really pisses me off, and you'll probably pick up on it. So the 4 gunmen, they see that there's this yellow Ford pickup truck. It's like one of those work style trucks, though. It's got like the I don't know, it's not compartments or containers on the side. It's a good representation. This drawing on the screen.
Holy shit! Looks like something out of Iraq.
Yeah. So they head over. They leave Belisario, who shortly will die from his wound.
So for those of you who are watching, I mean, for listening and not watching, these are pencil sketch drawings that are done very well. Back in the day, to be a cop, you had to also be an artist. Now we have CAD, which does the artwork kind of for you. You kind of like you could select square, drop in a square, you can collect road, you can drag it in. But like a lot of people don't know that cops have to draw out these incidents for evidence purposes. So you have to be like a fucking engineer to draw out a CAD drawing. And then these drawings, dude, I'm telling you, I couldn't be a cop in the 80s because art was not my forte. That shit would have looked terrible.
But you would have shined because technology wasn't that important.
It's true, but I still suck at regular art. Like,
all right. So Hill is trying to hold them down. Hill runs across and gets to Belaski. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. The 4 gunmen see this yellow truck driven by a guy named Michael Linville. This is where Gary leaves the story because Gary is now, even though he's like duct taped in the back, he lives. It's a happy ending because they just leave Gary with his van. They're like, thank you for the van, Gary. You can have it back. We're sorry about your day, how it turned out. Also, Belisario's dead in the front seat. You'll need to get rid of him before you resell this.
Wait, Belisario is laying on a ghost bed. Right now, GhostBed is offering 40% off GhostBed bundles where you get mattress and adjustable base at 30% off everything if you use the code Drinking Bros at ghostbed.com/Drinking Bros. Look, GhostBed has been part of the Drinking Bros fan for the last 5 years. And listen, in a time now more than ever, we need people like GhostBed who actually support the police and don't buy this narrative that all cops are actually bad. In a time where it's hard to get sponsors because you're pro-police, GhostBed is right there with us, dude, and they're not backing off. Amen. So if anything, support GhostBed because they are one of the very few who support us and who back us and who leave and who stand behind us through thick or thin. They don't have to agree with everything that we do, but they stand behind us in overall support, and we completely appreciate that. Mike sleeps on a ghost bed. Elijah sleeps on a ghost bed. I've slept on a ghost bed. Sarah Couch sleeps on a ghost bed. Austin in the room sleeps on a ghost bed, returned to ghost bed for a different ghost bed. And because he got the hard, but wanted the mediocre hard, sent it back. And they said, oh, sorry, we're going to send you a comforter too, because you didn't order the right ghost bed for yourself.
You messed up.
Sorry, dum-dum.
But we're sorry.
But we're sorry that you ordered the wrong one for yourself. We're going to send you a little comforter too. So absolutely love GhostBed. They go over and beyond for us. Huge fans of those guys, for all of our sponsors, all the guys that are in us in this time. Thank you all of you guys. Even if you're not paying for this exact episode, just know out there, if you've sponsored our show and you know who we are, guys like Rip Pack, guys like Policy Genius, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And if you continue to sponsor us, we're going to go all in. USA.
USA. USA.
USA. All right. So Belisario, have a good night's sleep.
Belisario.
Rest in pieces.
RIP, but not really. I don't care. I hope you're agitated in death. Yeah. All right. The 4 gunmen decide to exchange Gary and his tradesman for this yellow pickup truck.
So it paid off. So Dildo Brothers paid off.
Yeah, sort of.
Okay.
So they abandoned Michael doesn't give them any problems. Says, you know what? There's a Carl's Jr. over there. I could eat. You guys have fun with the truck. I'm going to head to Carl's Jr. It's lunchtime. Have fun with my pickup truck. and he literally walks to Carl's Jr. That's where the driver goes.
I can relate to that because when I was in SEER school, and one of the most intense moments, we were in a cell together, a lot of us, and they were hitting us with this fire hose in this cell. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been sprayed with a fire hose, but it's like you're fucking drowning.
It's a weird kink.
It sucks. And we're just getting hosed down, and they stop hosing us down and they shut the door, and everybody's being really quiet. And the guy who kind of took charge, we didn't really know each other in this room. We're all kind of like fake POWs at this point. He starts talking. They're all starting to come up with a plan. And I look at the guy next to me, and I'm like, dude, when I get the fuck out of here, I'm going to go get a carnita from El Dorados. I'm going to go get a carnita. From the other side of the room, a guy that I'm still friends with today, the only guy that I know from SEER school, he goes, hey, man, did you say carnitas? You ever had El Dorados carnitas? I was like, dude, I was just talking about it. And the other people were like, dude, would y'all shut the fuck up? All right, we're in a serious situation here. You guys are talking about fucking carnitas. And I was like, bro, and he's weaved his way through the crowd. He's like, dude, their carnitas are so good. I was like, aren't they? Are you kidding me? They're so good. So I get this guy being like, you know what? Shit's getting intense. Head over to Carl's Jr. Get that double bacon with cheese. We'll figure this shit out in a minute.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt McGee, for the super chat. He said, congrats to Gary. Live to light up another day. I hope Gary's still around.
Dude, we should have got Gary for the show today.
I would love to have Gary on for a follow.
Gary just seems like a guy I want to have a beer with.
We've been talking, guys, about following up on some of these stories to like have conversations with people that were involved. And that would be kind of cool to do, to have a follow-up and talk to people who, so a lot of this information came from Peter Houlihan's book, Norco 80, who actually spent time writing like pen pals back and forth with George Smith in prison to get the details and the mindset and what the stuff was. So it's pretty cool. So pretty cool altogether. All right. So they get the yellow pickup truck. Michael's going to lunch. And then Belaski has this broadcast. Do you have the dispatcher follow-up to that?
350, the suspects are stranded, their vehicle's disabled, and Hamner and Ford. Full help, I need an ambulance, I'm bleeding badly. Affirmative, ambulance en route. Roll, take a warn anybody.
Okay. So, he's I don't know if you can understand it, guys. He says, I've been hit in an artery. Like, he's like, this is legit. Like, do you have that picture of the wounded officer? I'm not sure if this is actually a picture of Belaski or not. No. The injured cop. So I don't know if this is a training video or if this was from the actual incident. I don't see somebody taking a photo of the actual incident. I think this is like a recreation, but I have a photo of somebody else. That hair, though, looks very 80s.
Dude, they look fucking tan. Dude, I'm going to go full 80s after today. I'm bringing back all that.
I like it. So I despise the tone of the dispatcher. He's like, an ambulance is on the way.
Oh, best I can do, bitch.
He's like, I've been hitting an artery. Send more cars. And he's like, an ambulance is on the way. Like, hey, listen, bitch. I've been shot in an artery. I expect a little respect on the radio. I
love dispatchers because they like notoriously give no fucks. Like, they're trained to give no fucks. Like, they're trained to be unempathetic. Because if they are empathetic, they'll all commit suicide. So they all have to have this mindset. Well, it's like,
they'll lose sight.
My artery's not burning. My artery's not busted. That's your problem. I fucking sent a dude your way.
All right. So Hill runs across the open and reaches Belaski, takes his handgun and reloads it for him. He's like, all right, you're still in the fight, buddy. Here's your gun again. Here's 6 more rounds. I put him in there for you. He's trying to hold Belaski and drags him to some trees for some measure of cover, heads back to his own unit and drives to Belaski's position to get him. He loads him up and heads to Corona Community Hospital.
Good.
So Belaski's finally out of the fight. Deputy Delgado had arrived shortly with Hill. Obviously, we established that. And he's the only deputy left at the scene. It's still now 1 cop versus the 4 guys that are commandeering this pickup truck and loading it with all their ammo and stuff. And people are going to jump into the back bed of the pickup. It ends up being a perfect situation for them to be able to drive and shoot.
Because and then the one dude's still at Carl's Jr., though?
Yeah, the original owner of the vehicle is at Carl's Jr. He gave up easy. He wasn't like Gary. He didn't want to stay with the vehicle. He didn't want to go down with the ship.
He's like, fuck.
Gary was the captain of his truck, his van. Gary's like, if this van goes down, I'm going with it. Michael
the other
was
guy's like, fuck
this ain't even
dude,
mine. This is my boss's truck. I don't
a
care.
cheeseburger.
And I'm hungry. So two different personalities. So Delgado's by himself. Now another cop, Chris Harbin, arrives. Chris Harbin is driving the getaway car. Manny Delgado's in the passenger seat, and George and Russell.
That's Gary's van.
That is a
Gary's van.
great shot group. That is pretty fucking tight.
That's the pellets from Belaski coming through the windshield.
Oh, okay. That's why they're so tight.
Yeah.
There's some X-rays later, and all the officer shots are actually awesome.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, so George and Russell hop in the back. They load their hundreds of rounds and grenades and all that stuff. And get this, they forgot the $20,000 in cash at Gary's van. So Gary got 20 grand for his problems.
You think Gary was just like, you know what I mean? Just steals it.
Yeah, he deserves
God,
it.
this shirt is so fucking soft.
I love it. All right, so now they start firing at Deputy Delgado. He has to crawl under his unit to take safety. Like he is completely overwhelmed by gunfire. He gets on the radio and thinks that they've taken hostages. Let's see if we have that clip.
I'm playing it. It's just not playing.
Oh, well.
No.
That's great.
Okay, well, you reset that while I keep talking. Anyway, Delgado, because of the haze of all the gunshots, he looks up from.
51, 3 suspects fled. A yellow pickup north on Hamner. They got 2 hostages.
Okay, cool. So
you see how chaotic that is, though? Like, and when we were talking about yesterday's show, you see how chaotic these things going, where people can misspeak. People have no idea what the fuck is going on. And just a really quick point, not to divert from this story, but a lot of people are saying, well, I heard this from this cop and this from this cop. As Mike said yesterday, and that whole Uvalde thing, nobody is going to know what really happened in this, not even the people that were on the ground. Because when you're sucked in, when you've got tunnel vision, you're only seeing one side of one angle. You don't see the whole picture. So, and this guy thinks there's a hostage situation, but in reality, if I'm wrong, right, there's not a hostage situation.
Correct. He looks up and sees people back there, and it's George and Russ that they're in the back with their guns, but they thought he's got hostages back there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's thinking. Honey Badger says Gary probably tells this story to get ladies onto his ghost bed.
I have an update on Gary.
Gary update. This just in.
That's him as of 2019.
That's
Fuck
Gary
yeah,
in 2019.
Gary, dude.
Hell yeah, brother.
Why is he at the Chuck E. Cheese?
That looks like a TJ Maxx, honestly.
Bro, that shirt is fucking boss.
Gary's pimp AF.
Yeah. Modern Family. Like he shops at the same place that Modern Family does.
Dude, good job.
A little creepy there. We got to
Gary
get this
update.
guy on.
We got to get Gary on.
God, we got to get Gary on.
I want to know what was going through Gary's mind at that Sears.
I want some beers.
His name's Gary.
With Gary.
Hamala.
Man, I like that guy. All
Come
right,
on,
we're gonna
Gary.
we're on a mission to get Gary on for a follow-up episode. Behind the paywall of Patreon, coming soon. All right, here we go. Now, all of this that we've covered up to this point.
So I said that shirt screams 20 grand.
Nice shirt, Gary. How much was it? $20,000.
He's like, bitch, I'm rich. Back in the 80s, I came into some money. Don't worry about it.
I bought Apple stock in 1980 with that $20,000, and now Gary's a pimp.
You want one of those Jesuses? So we went into the Mexican mart. That's where I do a lot of my shopping for the distillery. And when you walk in, there is this huge stack. Like if you go into Lowe's or Food Lion grocery, you have like a stack of beer or a stack of chips. You go into our Mexican mart and there's a stack of Jesuses, like incense burning Jesuses.
Right.
And I was with our producer and I was like, look, dude, I just got paid. You want one of them Jesuses? We'll go over there and pick you out one of those Jesus.
Go
Like,
ahead
who
and get
goes
yourself
into
a
the
Jesus.
Mexican mart and goes, you know what? I need a fucking Jesus.
You need a Jesus.
I need a Jesus. I need one of those incense burning Jesuses.
And then you're
Can I
like,
get a genius?
I want the one from the back that's special. That
No,
no one knows
there's
about,
like
the
all
biggest
sizes of Jesuses.
I want
He
the
was
biggest
he was
Jesus.
actually looking at him. I was like, hey, bro, you want one of those Jesus? Grab me one of the big ones. I see
Like
looking
a
at the
Jesus
big
totem
Jesus.
pole,
I got money.
like the cigar shop Indian.
Get you
but
one of
it's a
the
Jesus?
get you one of those
We
Indian
need-
Jesuses.
We need a Jesus candle behind Eric now.
Jesus, yeah, we need it. We got to have a Jesus candle.
I was like, look, dude, I'm not a peasant anymore. You want one of those Jesuses? Grab you a Jesus. Ah, come on, get you a big Jesus, dog. Get you a big Jesus. Don't you go small on Jesus.
You don't chimp out. You don't chintz out on Jesus.
You don't chimp out on Jesus. Get you the expensive Jesus over there.
If you're gonna get a Jesus, you get the best one possible.
You want the black Jesus? Get the black Jesus, man. I'm treating you. It's my
more
treat.
likely.
Whatever Jesus you want.
Whatever Jesus you relate to. I like the 6 pound, 8 ounce baby Jesus. I like to pray to baby Jesus. Teenage Jesus. Anyway, all of what we have covered so far, and I got to pick up the pace. All of what we have covered so far, 4 minutes. This is all in 4 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't it nuts?
That's a lot in 4 minutes.
Don't forget, never forget Gary. Belisario's dead.
Okay.
The dust settles. 42 bullet holes were found in Belaski's unit. 5 holes were found in him. With an they estimate that Belaski took 200 rounds of fire at just him.
Yeah.
So from
Let's
that
go Belaski.
first minute of, we have a 211 in progress, and he says, I'm 1097. 4 minutes later, he's got 5 holes in him and had been fired at 200 times by high-powered rifles.
Jeez.
Woo! Crazy.
Just don't make them like they used to.
So at this point, Riverside County. So like, let me give you this. Who said 4 minutes isn't long enough? I love it. Riverside County Sheriff's Department is involved. Corona PD is involved. Riverside PD is involved. California Highway Patrol is involved. And now Costa Mesa launches their jet helicopter Eagle into the air. And they're up there flying around, and they see all of this unfolding underneath them, so they kind of get themselves involved in this. And I think that's Jet 1. I think that's Baker 1.
Dude, that's a cool little bird.
Yeah, I think that's a different helicopter, but it doesn't matter. That's the one that gets shot down. We'll get to that.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Dude, whoever just I am sorry, guys. That private chat was so amazingly distracting.
I know, right? I know.
I can't tell you what it is.
Don't even.
Can't tell you what it is. But
Just
holy shit,
we got a Black Hawk down here. We
that
got a
made
Black
me-
Hawk down.
That made me laugh. All right, so they drive north out of Norco. They run through 2 red lights, colliding with 2 private vehicles. No one is thankfully seriously injured, but they smash into 2 cars with Michael's yellow truck through the red lights. Right behind them is Deputy Reed, and another unmarked unit that's just 3 Edward 22. It's like just this unmarked unit. I don't know a name, but Reed encounters a pickup truck, and they start blasting at him, and he's struck in the back of his left knee. So let's hit the tape. Or not.
Dude, what is going on?
Fuck! I was hitting the back of the knee.
That's pretty much.
Hamner and Flashman. Hit the leg! Where are they going? Quit yelling. Calm down. Which way are they going? Got the lane blocked over here at Hamner and Lemon. Shoot from the back of the truck. I'm headed for the hospital. Jared, 5110 your traffic. He was headed for the hospital. 259. I've been rolling Belaski to the hospital also. 259 copy.
Copy.
321 can you advise location of the truck on that Hamner and Lemonade at this time? Last seen heading northbound.
All right. So
That dispatcher, because it's the 80s, he's all like, all right.
10-9 that traffic.
He's puffing on that cigarette. All right, got you headed to the hospital.
The other officer had the nerve to tell the other one to calm down. That got shot in the, he's like, I've been shot in the leg. And he's
Stop
like,
acting like a little pussy.
calm down, bitch.
You're a fucking cop. Act like it.
You got a car. Drive yourself to the hospital and stop crying on the radio.
Like a
we
little
got
bitch.
shit to do. All
Yeah.
right.
All right, Amber Heard. Fucking calm down.
So the suspects longingly drive past their 2 getaway cars with all their camping equipment, all their s'mores that they had ready to camp with. They drive past those, staring at them like, shit, this has not gone as planned. If you wanted to know what the cars were, one was an AMC Ambassador and one was a Camaro, by the way. And that also meant that their HH-375 Magnum rifle elephant gun that they had in the back, they couldn't take with them. So thank goodness for that. They drive into Mira Loma. So they're going to start circling their house. My guess, and I didn't read the book, but my guess is their mindset was that if they could get back to their house, they could get into the weed bunker.
Yes, the
right?
bunker.
Because they circle in this chase past the house twice, George and Chris's place. So it seems like they're trying to position themselves to be able to get to that bunker and hide, but they never make it there. So they encounter them. Another guy, Deputy Borden, which is ironic because it's in front of a dairy farm that he encounters them, and Borden's milk is a thing, I think. So he takes fire. They miss him, but he crashes in trying to avoid the gunfire into a dairy fence. And Elijah, try to keep track because I'm going to skip some. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
And Limonite unit vehicle is on Schleichman towards Etowanda. Yep. 312 are heading on Schleichman. I've been hit by fire.
We know.
Units at Hamner and Limonite, they have had fire on them at Schleichman heading towards Etowanda. 13 is that Holmes and 65th. 10-4. 310. There were 310. Looks like an orange on a travel hall with cabinets on the side. There's several subjects in the back firing. Riverside Doll, it appears to be an orange travel hall with cabinets on the side. Suspects are in the back of the vehicle firing up on the units.
Go ahead and pause there. Notice that one of the deputies describes it as orange, and it's yellow. Like, again,
happens all the time.
Details of witnesses and what people see and perceive under moments of stress.
Can't go off of it.
It gets
Can't
weird,
go
man.
off of it.
Can't.
I love
right.
this dispatcher, though, because I can tell he's smoking a cigarette while this whole thing is going on.
Yes. All right. So they keep going, and I'm getting a little lost on what we might have as far as tapes go. So I apologize if we kind of jack that up, but I want to keep moving. So we're probably not going to play as many of the clips because we're already running short on time. But so what happens? Deputy Parks encounters them in this residential area. He gets grazed in the head by a bullet, gets glass all over his face and arms. His vehicle still works, but he makes a U-turn, and he starts hearing all these gunshots hitting the ground near him. They start to believe, because there's such an overwhelming amount of firepower and it's happening so fast, they start thinking these are automatic weapons. This isn't even a semi-automatic rifle. These are automatic. They encounter 3 Riverside deputies. Parks is still in pursuit. And now Riverside puts up Baker 1 helicopter. It's a jet helicopter, and that's the one that I think that we had pictured on the screen. And now that's in the air. Deputy Herman Brown is in front of a crowded supermarket, and the suspects start firing on him and in front of right at the people. They strike his unit, and he's hit in the left lower leg, and they keep on driving. 2 more deputies start going, McDaniels and Matten. They start, but they fire on them, and McDaniels is smoked in the shoulder. So these cops are, I'm losing track. The cars are getting disabled by the gunfire, and they're getting disabled by the gunfire.
It's like Gettysburg, like Pickett's Church.
Yeah. Madden continues in the pursuit. And again, so much intense gunfire, they start believing that it's automatic. They start going down these residential streets. Parks' unit goes down, so he flags down another deputy, Deputy Chisholm, and says, like, can I get a ride? He hops in his car with him, and they just get back in the chase. And they're just like leaving cars in their wake, trying to chase these dudes down. There's Baker 1 in the air.
Dude, this looks like something out of like fucking Ramadi.
I know, isn't it nuts? So the chase continues past George's and Chris's house. They encounter a trooper Romo from CHP, Bill Crow, Deputy Reynard. You don't have to remember these names. I'm just telling you. The suspects do what they tend to do, which is open fire, disabling all 3 units. The next 3 cars that try to join the chase, all taken out by the gunfire. And Crow, who is a deputy, is struck in the right arm, and Deputy Reynard is hit in his elbow, and he's damaged.
Ouch. That was painful.
His weenus, man. Look at that. His weenus got hit.
Yeah, I'm out.
So they pass by a civilian vehicle, and they fire at that. Don't know why.
And fuck you, too.
Yeah, and you, too. They pass 4 12-year-old kids on bicycles. They decide, we got enough ammo. Let's shoot these kids.
You want some of this? You want some of this?
Yeah. One kid, thankfully their aim is actually not that great because they fire at 4 kids on bikes and only 1 kid is hit and he's just grazed in the finger and he's fine.
Oh, that's cool.
But what a story to tell when you're 12 in the 1980s.
Yeah. Get that kid on.
That's what kids did in the 80s, right? They get up on their bikes, they mount up for the day.
They didn't even tell their parents because they weren't supposed to be out. That kid's never even told his parents about that.
I want to talk to the kid that got grazed in the finger. If you're
now
listening,
all the kids would be like ratting them out on social.
So all of the cars are now out. No one is chasing them except Baker 1 in the air. They circle back to their house again. At that point, Deputy Zealous of the Riverside Sheriff's Office is in a plane unit, and he gives chase. Still hooded subjects, and he yells out that they're putting in more clips. Can we talk about the fact that they would have said clips?
10-4, still requesting ambulance at location. Baker 1, the vehicle has just turned northbound. I believe it's on Etowanda at this time. It's northbound. Back the other way. Etowanda. You got San Benito coming in this area? And Baker 1, the vehicle is turned eastbound again off of Etowanda. Control what's last known, got 20 of suspects. They were northbound on Etowanda, just turned eastbound off of Etowanda.
All right, I don't know. I know that I'm trying to move ahead here, so we're lost. No more clips. They suck. Okay, I'll tell you the rest of the story. So they make it to the expressway and they ask for San Bernardino and Ontario PDs to help with air support. Parks and Chisholm, they finally catch up to the chase. They're back in it with Zealous in this plane unit behind them. First, San Bernardino, this Baker 1 is in the air and they fire at it. It happens to hit the landing skid of the helicopter, ricochets through the radio equipment into the plane and into the instrument panel, causing an electrical fire in the plane or the helicopter. One bullet. Yeah. The 1 bullet theory.
It's like a 9mm that rips out your lungs.
It takes your lungs out. You can get hit with a 22 and it'll just lodge there, but a 9mm, they'll blow your lungs right out of your body. So the helicopter is able to make a safe landing, but what are the odds, man, of these guys in the back of a commandeered freaking pickup truck, a work truck, taking out a helicopter? So now all these agencies are involved. They're trying their effective range. They're learning all of this in process, by the way. 1/2 mile. If units get within a 1/2 mile, they start taking accurate fire. So they're at a tremendous disadvantage. Units start asking on the expressway to make a traffic break. Did you guys ever do that? The traffic breaks on the expressway where you would like weave back and forth to slow down traffic. Yeah. A lot of people don't know what that is.
I don't think we called it that. I think we just said, hey, can you guys stop traffic for us on the interstate?
Yeah. We wouldn't like necessarily bring it all to a stop. We would just weave back and forth at 10 miles an hour and make sure no one was passing so that we could free up space up there, whatever.
Yeah, we always do that.
Yeah. So that's what they asked for. A cop tries to catch up. Now they start dipping into their explosives and they start throwing out the handmade grenades and the incendiary devices. Can you imagine feeling like you're driving, trying to in a police chase, and all of a sudden start seeing
Feels
explosives.
like a Call of Duty.
Dude, you're fucking, those guys in the back of the trucks, their dicks were so fucking hard. Like, they know this is the end.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they're like, bro, this is it, dog. Yeah.
We're going out.
Let's go. Fuck you, Gary.
They head into the San Bernardino forest. So 42 minutes now, 35 miles, one helicopter less. And they've got 3 CHP units, and Deputy Evans from Riverside now leads the chase into the forest. They head 7 miles down a dirt road that's 10 to 12 feet wide. They pass Lydell Creek, which you're like, well, why did they go into this forest at this time? Well, remember when I said that they trained with their weapons? Lydell Creek inside San Bernardino Forest was where they trained. So they were very familiar with the lay of the land. Again, they had camping equipment. They planned on, they first try to go to the house to the bunker. Then they try to go to the forest where they trained, where they were familiar, and they were going to camp out. So they're trying to just go to familiar places. Deputy Hopkins and Sergeant Bender are in this plane unit. And it's 1980, folks. We still don't have, speaking of our breakdown yesterday, we were talking about at least 8 different agencies being present. You don't have one magic button to just communicate with everybody instantaneously on your radio. That shit has to be switched over. You got to go to that channel. Even when you can patch people through, it's still a job, even in 2022. In 1980, it was an impossibility. So they had the only radio in the area in this plane unit that could communicate with the chopper and then be able to communicate to some other major dispatch centers. So you've got this plane unit driving behind in a car chase, communicating with the chopper, communicating with other agencies, trying to keep everybody communicated. And then you've got Deputy Evans, who is a certified badass on these guys' tail down a dirt road by himself, basically. He's the only one active. The other guys are focused on communications. So, Deputy Parks and Chisholm, if you remember them, they were in the chase before. They had got their car got taken out by a radio. Their radiator got shot out. So Parks and Chisholm. So Parks, remember, he got taken out. He hitches a ride with Chisholm. They stay in the chase. The radiator gets shot out. So they're abandoned. But Deputy Jordan of the Riverside Department comes by and they're like, let's hop in with you. So now Parks gets a .22 action lever rifle.
A 22?
Yeah. And hops in. So you got three guys riding deep in one car. And then you've got a couple of other guys, McCarty and McFerrin, go to the substation and try to get an M16. Not M16s plural, the M16 that they had at the substation. So that they could try to get back in the fight and stand some semblance of a chance of comparison. So they head down this dirt road for 7 miles, and they get stuck in this wet wash. All 4 of them get out, and they stand at the back waiting. So they stand there in wait, weapons ready. Deputy Evans appears around the corner, and he starts immediately taking fire. His windshield is shattered by gunfire. We have his last radio transmission, but I don't know where it's at, so we're not going to be able to play it. But his last radio transmission is a difficult one to listen to anyway, because a cop was lost. Obviously, his life ends, but he's not hit yet. He opens the driver's door. He heads back to the back of his unit. He fires back 7 times. Okay, so he hits 7 rounds of this .38, is able to reload and fire 1 more round from 58 yards. He's firing at these guys. Deputies around the corner with that M16, they arrive. Evans is trying to hold down his ground, and they see him get shot in the face. So as they pull around, the suspects shoot Evans fatally. The suspects continue to fire. McFerrin runs to the back from his driver's side. McCarty's wounded. Gunfire is intense. So McFerrin literally, the gunfire is so intense, he gets under his patrol car and by hand starts digging a hole to crawl himself into and get even lower from these rounds hitting underneath and ricocheting off underneath the car. So Deputy Parks is on a road below them. He can see them. He's firing with this lever action .22. They all split off into the forest. They all go their own separate ways. Okay. They get to Evans. They cover him with a blanket, Everyone else is now told to hold off, and they call in SWAT. So in less than an hour, all of this is unfolded. And to add insult to injury, on the way, somebody from the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office, his patrol car got stuck on railroad tracks on the way to this and got hit by a train.
What?
He got out in time. He didn't get hurt, but his car was wrecked.
But like, you see how crazy shit gets? Like, I don't think that people understand like these incidents and how wild they get. And sometimes when I tell these stories, and thank God that all my stories have somewhat happy endings. I mean, sometimes I broke my leg or I broke my arm or my
like
partner gets her neck slit or whatever. But I don't think people really realize how much goes into the chaos of shit like this.
Yeah.
And the media will never tell you this story. They'll be like, there was a bank robbery and 4 cops were shot and they weren't able to shoot back and they lost 1 helicopter. What was LAPD doing out there?
Cops lost $80 million in police equipment. Whatever. Trying to save Gary, man. All right. Yeah. So the next morning, a massive manhunt is underway. A lot of officers spent the night there, but this is like up in the forest and whatever in May. Apparently there's still some snow, freezing temps at night, all that stuff. In the morning, a 65-man Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I mean, they called in the big guns, right? LA. They're like, let's do this. 65 SWAT operators show up to head into the forest with helicopters and men on the ground, and they're going to find these dudes, right? So they've got a 4-wheel truck driving by. These incident commanders are heading to their command post, something we, again, brought up yesterday. Okay. They spot Chris and Russ just like walking along, and they give up without incident. Chris had been shot once in the back. Get this. Remember I told you Deputy Evans, the certified badass, firing his revolver from 58 yards? Yeah, he hit Chris in the back from 58 yards away under gunfire with his 38 revolver.
38 not even that big of a round.
How awesome is that? So he hits Chris once in the back. Russell was carrying 3 handguns.
But he gets
on him
one in the face, though, right?
Yeah, he got one in the face. I mean, he lost, but
right. But I mean, he's still stayed in the fight.
Exactly. So don't forget, now Chris is shot twice. He had that pellet from Belaski in his groin, and now he's got a shot in the back, but he lives. George Smith was. That's Chris and Russ. George Smith was found suffering from 2 gunshot wounds and a massive amount of blood loss.
Good.
Now, Manny's still out there. So now they have 3 of the 4 survivors in custody. He had climbed up a tall hill into thick brush and wanted to try to hide from the helicopter, but they see him anyway. So Sheriff's Department was holding him at gunpoint, calling him out from the brush. Well, Manny has this, also has a 38 in his hand, a revolver, turns toward the officers, and they light him up with 308 rounds and double-aught buckshot.
Good.
I mean, they ruined Manny's life, literally.
Good.
To add insult to injury in a good way, Manny gets shot by the Sheriff's Department, falls down, and shoots himself in the heart with his gun as the last thing that he hears and sees. Like, God. He falls down in this brush from injuries and blam, shoots himself right in the chest.
Good for him.
So the brush was so thick that they had to cut him away. Let's show Manny's x-ray. So,
oh my God.
They put some holes in that boy.
Holy shit.
That's the groin.
That's his groin.
That's from the shotgun, though?
That's from a shotgun. And 308. You can see a couple of 308 rounds.
But I mean, like, let me tell you, if you get shot in the groin with anything, you're going down.
That's not going to feel good.
No, the pelvis, everything, it's very painful.
All right. So what did we learn from all this? I mean, so the trial, let me wrap this up. The trial goes to San Diego County. They moved it out of the county because of how much publicity had gone on. So 13 months later, we're up in January 1982. The death penalty had just recently been reinstated in California. And so this was one of the first trials where they were trying to get the death penalty on these guys. 44 felony counts against all of them, including the killing of Deputy Evans and the death of their co-perpetrators, their contribution to their deaths. George Smith was ordered 36 years and 8 months for those felonies, and then ordered to be remanded into prison without parole. I don't understand how that was. I didn't have time to look into that because they said his sentence was 36 years and 8 months, but even after that, he couldn't get out. So I don't know what that sentence was. I'd have to read the book. You can too. So in response to all this, now San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office started equipping their officers with Ruger Mini 14s, chambered in the .223, as well as M16s and AR-15s. Police departments began to look into moving beyond revolvers into semi-automatic pistols in the area. Like, this was a game changer. And this is why it surprised me that I never, ever heard of this shootout until this week. And it was actually a watershed incident that changed policing in the West and eventually the rest of the country.
It's probably because it happened in California.
Yeah,
California squashed that shit. They don't want to be embarrassed.
So Irvine Police Department had made a documentary to turn it into a training video, and they made an abbreviation for their learning points, what police need to understand from Norco bank heist. And it's literally the acronym Norco. N, never become complacent. O, observe danger signs. 3, radio discipline. 4, common sense tactics. And 5, observation and defense positions. And they're like, did we really need to chase these guys with our revolvers and patrol cars? Or could we have just used the helicopters to follow them and then wait for SWAT? I don't know, what did you learn from this? I don't know. Tell us in the comments. But that's the crazy 1980 meets the Wild West story of the Norco bank heist.
Jeez, dude, this is literally kind of like Rambo First Blood.
Oh, by the way, Deputy Belaski, remember him? The first responder?
Yeah.
He recovered from his wounds.
Good.
Was awarded several decorations.
Good.
Deservedly. He later became an officer in the U.S. Air Force and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel and worked as an electronic warfare officer.
So how do we get him on the show?
I don't know. Is he still alive? Come on, let's find him out. Let's get him and Gary on.
I don't know, but get him and Gary on to tell the story, get him ripped on some hard AF.
Whew.
Yeah, we get him on stage here. By the way, you're coming here, what, June
23rd, 24th kind of a thing? Yeah, we'll be.
Yeah, if you're in the North Carolina area, you want to come see a live show, we'll be here at my studio.
I'm sweaty.
You can reach out. We'll give you the address. We'll be on stage. You can come in, have some brews, some wine, hang out with us. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, I'm tired, dude. I put too much research this week. Too much research this week.
That's how I felt last week.
Too much work. This is too much work. I quit.
And we have a meeting. We have a major meeting at 1:30. Daddy's in trouble.
Whew.
Yeah, what a great breakdown, dude. You killed that. Great job.
Sorry, we lost track. There was so much radio footage, and it's my fault because I did the timeline and I put the word tape next to every spot in this flow for the underpaid producer, but I should have named them so that I could easily reference them, the ones that I wanted, instead of just hoping that we stayed on track. But I screwed that up. So there was more audio footage that we had, but I think you guys got the idea, and hopefully hearing some of the radio communication was an element that you guys enjoyed. I hope so.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good radio traffic too. But
yeah, man. So that's it.
Well,
that's this week's episode of Failure to Stop. That's
what a great one. What a fun breakdown. I love being true crime. I like how we're moving in the true crime genre, and I like where Tuesday night's going, where we're gonna interview people, and hopefully we can get Gary on Tuesday night. That'd be great.
I think you're going to see Night Shift guys. Eric and I have been talking about this. We want to use that as the opportunity to get guests on and tell cool stories, man.
Yeah. We want our guests to tell stories. So we're not going to interview guests. We're going to have our guests come on and actually tell stories.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, especially when you get major guests. Like I heard Evan Hafer on the Black Rifle Coffee podcast. He just interviewed Mike Rowe. Right. Yeah. And they had more of a cool conversation where he asked him things that I would have never thought about asking. But Mike Rowe is a great storyteller. And he told he's told this story, for example, of like when he had to test a shark suit. And it was an awesome, awesome story, right? So everyone knows who Mike Rowe is. He's been on so many shows. But what is cool is if somebody that everybody knows comes on and tells a story that nobody knows. That would be cool for Night Shift. And so we're gonna keep trying to move in that direction, keep trying to deliver to you guys good stuff. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening to it. We had strong viewership on the show today, and we're loving it. And it's only thanks to you guys. Honestly, if we don't have an audience, we don't have a show. And so we thank you.
Thank you.
Guns up, giddy up. We can't stop.
On the next one.
We can't.
Guns up, giddy up.
Happy Pride Month, everybody.